pain or suffering, we'll try to avoid them. And similarly, when we're feeling pleasure, those recordings are also marked. And those are called pleasure moments. See, we have traumas and then we have pleasure moments. And everything else in between is just sort of, you know, thrown in the trash basket. It doesn't have any particular survival value according to the mind. You see. So the mind's intelligence is based around the task of promoting survival in the material world. It's a biological computer. It's actually, I mean, it's sophisticated in the sense that it can handle an enormous amount of data. I think, remember in the San Diego seminar, we went through a calculation of how much data is involved in processing the streams of sensory information coming into the mind. And it's like in the realm of gigabytes per second. So there's an awful lot of information there. And if you know how to do regression therapy or different, you can actually access any one of these recordings from any time in a person's life, even back to the moment of conception. So the mechanism of the mind, although it's connected with the brain, it's not the brain, it's something subtle. There's some kind of subtle energy field that retains all these impressions, that is much higher information density than even the human brain. And the human brain is some kind of holographic computer itself. I mean, it's a very impressive machine itself. But even before the brain is formed, you can still find recordings in the mind of traumatic incidents, for example, in the implantation stage of the blastosome in the wall of the uterus, which is way before brain formation takes place. Therefore, the recording mechanism has to be something subtle. It can't be anything material, because the material structure is not there yet. And the proof that this is not just an imaginary experience, is that when people go back through regression and they relive these experiences, their cases make enormous improvement. They feel great relief, and then you see that their personalities improve, and their memory, and often the somatics that they're experiencing will go away, and stuff like this. So there's something really, there's something to this. It's not just woo-woo science fiction, new age stuff. It's really something that we can use to help people. Not that we want to get into a whole, cultivation of psychology, but if somebody's really messed up, we can send them for therapy and know that it's really going to help them. Anyway, the mind is there in the material world to help us with material survival. But in the spiritual world, there's no question of survival. Survival is eternal, automatically. So we don't need the mind in the sense of some kind of survival mechanism. Instead, in the spiritual world, the mind is actually quite vestigial. It's, it's not very developed. Mind in the spiritual world is not very important, because everything in the spiritual world is done directly by consciousness. And also time is so much different in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, we're not pushed relentlessly through time like we are in the material world. Even though there is time in the sense that events happen in a sequence, one after the other, we're not forced to go through that sequence of time in a linear manner. If we want, we can stop, we can go backwards, we can go in circles. I mean, time is multidimensional, and it's also fractal. And in the spiritual world, we have full access to those dimensions. So it's really kind of hard to explain if you haven't been there in a while. So mind in the spiritual world is very different. There's not so much need for it there, because there's no danger, there's no suffering. Anyway, I got way off the topic. Are there any other questions?
There's one general question from Dravida Raj Das. Was your old Yahoo group Raganuga Dash Bhakti?
Yes.
Question from Ronald. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. When relishing Krishna's pastimes, is there a set of specific qualities we should remember? He has so many nice qualities. Does the scripture state any specific pastimes?
Yeah, all of them. But of course, you'll find that you will be attracted to particular qualities and particular pastimes of Krishna more than others. To a Vaishnava, all of Krishna's pastimes are important. All of his qualities are relishable. We don't neglect any of Krishna's forms or his pastimes or qualities. But at the same time, every devotee individually will find that he is more attracted to certain forms, certain qualities and pastimes than to others. This is natural. Everybody has taste. Some people like vanilla ice cream, some people like chocolate. And there's no telling why. Well, why do you like chocolate ice cream? I just do, Actually, I like vanilla. But anyway, we don't really have to have a reason. That's just our preference. We have free will. And Krishna grants us that free will, and he recognizes that free will. And he actually responds to our free will in that he will react or respond to our devotional service in a particular mood, appropriately, according to that mood. So if we prefer to worship Krishna in the mood of servitorship, or friendship, or parenthood, or conjugal love, Krishna will respond in that mood, according to our taste. So, again, the answer seems a little more complicated, because we have to go back to the nature of consciousness. And the nature of consciousness is everyone has their preferences. So, even though we recognize all of Krishna's qualities as being transcendental, and we love all of Krishna's forms and appreciate all his qualities, still, some of those qualities are more important to us individually than others, and that's natural. That's okay. Okay, so let's go on. Krishna's age is considered in 3 periods. From his appearance to the end of his 5th year is called Kaumara. From the beginning of the 6th year up to the end of the 10th year is called Pauganda. And from the 11th to the end of the 15th year is called Kaishora. After the beginning of the 16th year, Krishna is called Yovana, or a youth, and this continues with no change. In our University of Higher Knowledge courses, we study Krishna book before we study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam directly, because Krishna book gives very nice digest of Krishna's pastimes without getting into too much detail or too much technical issues. So this is divided up into these 3 ranges of age. And we, in the first 3 courses, in the first course, the Bhakta course, we study the Kaumara, the Kaumara pastimes of Krishna, the Pauganda and the Kaishora pastimes of Krishna are all part of the Braja Lila, because they take place in Braja or Vrindavan. Then the Kaishora, after the Kaishora, then the Yovana stage of Krishna's age begins, and that's at the time that he goes to Mathura. So the Mathura Lila and the Dvarka Lila are studied separately. We study the Braja Leela first because it's the most important. And then the others are studied later. Anyway, as far as Krishna's transcendental pastimes are concerned, they are mostly executed during the Kaumara, Pauganda, and Kaishora periods. His affectionate pastimes with his parents are executed during his Kumara age. His friendship with the cowherd boys is exhibited during the Pauganda period. And his friendship with the gopis is exhibited during the age of Kaishora. Krishna's pastimes at Vrindavan are finished by the end of his 15th year, and then he is transferred to Mathura and Dwarka, where all the other pastimes are performed, and like I said, that's in the Yovana age. Srila Rupa Goswami gives us a vivid description of Krishna as the reservoir of all pleasure in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Here are some parts of that description.